Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor. I'm Susie.
And I'm Michael, and we're excited you joined us for this adventure.
So today's guest is Carl Suverkrop. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We are just so excited.
Hey guys, great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, super excited to have you on the show, Carl. You've made such a huge impact on Susie and I's life.
Yeah.
My life, but yes. So a little bit about how we met Carl. Goes way back to the days when we first started getting into multifamily.
Where we were
investing.
minnows.
We had no idea what was going on. And we were running around with a hair on fire because there's so much to do. But anyways, needless to say, because we were out there networking so much and like just putting out that we're interested in investing in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma City. And somebody introduced us. His name was Vivek. Actually made an email introduction between myself and Carl. And then Carl and I had a conversation and we met over Zoom. And then I just kind of kept up with you. I think, just emailing back and forth about the market, things like that. And then long story short, we just kept in touch. And then, I think it all just, I don't really know, like there was a gap in my memory there, but like, all of a sudden, like we were meeting and, once a week and you were like looking over my underwriting and things like that. I think we just kind of built that way. I don't know. Can you elaborate on how?
Yeah, that's kind of how it played out to me as well. I think, fortunate or not with 2020 and, on our business, we kind of took a step back and slowed things down. So I guess I, had some more time available and obviously we had a good connection. So I know you're getting started and I was potentially a step or two, ahead. And I thought, we got the time. So let's get together and help someone else with their journey because, it's been great for me and syndication and investing in apartments has certainly been life-changing for me just through the people I've met and what we've been able to achieve. So being able to help someone else is what it's all about.
I love that. Yeah. So Carl's being very modest right now. Carl is like eons ahead, not just a couple steps ahead of us. And I was like, I met Carl and I was like, I want to be like this guy. Like he's so cool. Investing in these apartments, and I was like, I want to get to know this guy. Went like, try to find him everywhere on social media. He doesn't exist. I was like, I need to learn more about Carl.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that we met, and I'm really very, very fortunate for the relationship that we've built. And I'm glad that we communicate multiple times a week now, and it's just amazing. So thank you so much, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has been great to see the success that you guys have pulled together because, there's a lot of people with that want to do what we do, but they don't take the action. So I'm all in for giving up time and working with people, but to see someone actually like multiply that action and not always turning back and going, and what now? And what now? Like you guys, like I kind of showed you what the baton looks like, and you took off and continued to run. So that was very rewarding on my end too.
Yay! Thank you so much
awesome.
for that. Yeah, that means a lot. So before we dive deeper into all this, can you please share with our listeners your background and why you started investing in real estate?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm originally from South Africa. I moved to the US in 2015. My background, I've always been entrepreneurial. Actually started my first real business when I was 24, which was electronic security. So CCTV cameras, biometric access, all those kind of stuff that you need in Africa. And we really focused on commercial sort of mines, regional shopping malls, and a lot of my clients were REITs. So that kind of got me going in the real estate, realm, just as interest of, how my clients were making money and, seeing how they structure that. And that's obviously more sort of commercial, so triple net stuff. But, I always knew real estate is where you make money. So started going down that route, just looking at little condos and stuff, but never really pulled the trigger. And so fast forward some time, I actually came over to the US in 2012. It was meant to be like a one visit and done. It was a buddies of mine wedding, and lo and behold, met my now wife. So ended up coming back and forth over a 3.5 year period. And it was pretty much on my second visit, which I guess was late 2012, where my buddy said to me, like, have you seen real estate in, the US? And I guess 2012, he had just bought his first house, and I think 2011 with a FHA loan or something of that. And he had made a ton of equity and was like, man, you need to look at real estate in the US. So I started exploring all of that. And I always tell the story about, I joined Bigger Pockets before Bigger Pockets was, a thing in 2012. Yeah. Somehow found it and got on that. And I used to listen to Brandon Turner's webinars. It was, I think they do 7 p.m. or something on a Wednesday night. It ended up being like 2 a.m. on a Thursday morning. And for weeks I'd wake up at 2 a.m. on a Thursday morning and lie there in bed with my laptop out, watching these webinars, learning what I could learn. And then every visit I came over, would go look at, and actually my wife then lived in a fourplex or, of townhomes. I started doing the sums of her rent and, anyways, that just got me more and more excited about the real estate in the US. And so once I moved here, I was well primed to just hammer down. Luckily, I'd managed to exit my company in South Africa. So, I had a little bit of a start over here, but I still did have managed to partner with someone else when I first got here, because we were looking to use conventional debt. And in theory, I didn't exist yet in the US. So I had a partner come in and help with the getting conventional debt. We would buy it and refi, the cash out. But a big part of the story I'm leaving out is that my wife, back in that period, was a property manager for A-class new construction in downtown Dallas. And she used to save or be banking her vacation days to come visit me. So whenever I would come over, I would go to work with her and just hang out in the business center and get things done. And I always say this, but South Africa doesn't offer apartment complexes like they are around here. Everything gets sold off as condos or townhomes, pretty much from plan. So the opportunity to buy up a whole apartment complex is very close to zero unless you're the original developer. And in my security business, we were just focused on recurring revenue contracts. We loved projects because they give you a good headline number of turnover, but we focused on signing contracts where, you sell the contract once and you've got 36 months of revenue. Well, relating that to apartment businesses, you sell a prospect once and you've got a 12-month lease. So all of a sudden, thinking and relating it back to business and recurring revenue, the apartment business became super attractive to me. One, it was real estate, but now it's like the best of what I want, right? It's my business plus real estate. And then you learn about cap rates and multiples, which, obviously came with all of that. And then it makes really good sense of why you want to scale and get into apartments if you're in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. And like, I know I've seen a lot of like your previous business experience bleed over into real estate, like when it comes to asset management and things like that, which has been really cool to kind of see all that put together. And another thing too, I want to kind of shout out to Carl, because Carl doesn't pat himself on the back enough. Like, I've never seen somebody underwrite so masterfully in my entire life. So I'm glad that I was able to learn from the master, and I continue to learn from the master. So yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
So how was it though? Like, so you come over here, it's like you're literally starting from scratch, I mean, yes, you were watching the webinars. Like, what was it like networking, and what was it like trying to figure out partners, and how did you, like, you knew that with multifamily you could scale, but like, how did you actually scale to get to the point to even actually put into action to scale?
For me, it's different, but putting yourself out there. So I actually put it off, and so to lead into that, it was funny. I was learning about real estate, and all of a sudden I discovered non-recourse debt in the US. And that was a limitation because I didn't have an income yet, because I was, by the time we got there, I did have an income, but it wasn't, it just didn't work out to the scale. So I learned about non-recourse debt. So I phoned up a local broker and said, I've learned about, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac non-recourse debt. Like, I'd like to sign up for some of that. How can I get some of this non-recourse debt? And I forget the guy's name, but he was very nice. And he chuckled a little bit, and he was like, "So how much do you really know?" And I was like, "Well, I know it's non-recourse." And he was like, "All right, back it up. You need to go to one of these, weekend seminars." And that just got my back up. I was like, man, I've heard about these weekend seminars, and back in South Africa, I'd done weekend seminars, and I thought, man, this is just it's not my deal. So he emailed through a link, and I followed it, and signed up for notifications and whatnot. And I sat on it for a year.
Wow, really?
For a year, I thought, it was $97 for the weekend. And I was like, I am just not doing this. I'm not gonna go get sold. And eventually, after a year of bumping my head, I was like, I need help. I'm not gonna figure it out on my own. I need to go to the right circles. Because that is the thing, when you're starting new and starting afresh, I didn't have circles. I played baseball, so let me go get into baseball here, and I joined the baseball league, and that was great, but those are not the people, all of the people that would get me to where I needed to be. So eventually I gave in. There was actually a Valentine's Day special or something for the seminar. So I forked out my $97 and thought, I'm going, but whatever they're putting down, I'm not picking up. I'm going to be a fly on the wall, and I'm not spending any money. So I walked in, and I was on a Saturday morning, it was all crowded, and kind of standing to the side, probably phone in the hand, trying to look busy or something. And a guy walked up and put his hand on my shoulder, and he's like, you look new. Well, he knew I was new because we were getting name tags. And, tell me about yourself. So I was like, yeah, we got, 4 duplexes in Fort Worth, but looking to scale. And I really want to learn about syndication. And he just smiled, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and he was like, you're in the right place. And I was like, okay, cool. All right. Let's relaxed me a little bit, and needless to say, by the end of day one, I was sitting at a table with my wife, rationalizing how we're going to spend $6,000 on a training program, which she just was not. She was like, "That's on you." She's like, "You go figure it out, but that's on you if you want to do it." So she supported me, and I ended up picking up what they were putting down, and joined the program. And that's just although there was a high barrier to entry, it kind of, by the virtue of that, qualified some of the relationships, or semi-qualified the people that we were going to be meeting, at least in my mind, which it did. And it was just through that, very casual. We just had networking events, and it really grew organically from surrounding yourself with people that want to do what you want to do. That it grew.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I like what you said about how the other people who are also then joining the group, it's a whole different kind of people. And this reminds me of Michael and I were chatting with somebody, and they had just said, when you go to events, whether that's Grant Cardone or whatever, don't sit in the very worst seats, because the people back there are talking about how their seats are horrible the entire time, instead of talking about all of the action that's happening. And it made me think of that, when you do put up, yes, like for some people, it is a large investment, whatever the amount is, right? Because large and investment mean so many things to so many people. But like when you take that step to actually go out of your comfort zone of what an investment is to you, like you do truly open up your circle to amazing, amazing people, you know, and that's really the best part. But it's getting out of that mindset of like, oh, well, if I save the money, then like I can do it myself. But we see time and time again how people aren't doing themselves, or then the people who don't do that are still in the wrong circle. And you just go back into this like rounds, you know, over and over and over of like, why am I not moving forward?
Exactly. And that's one thing as well. And this might sound a little snobby, but we haven't been to conferences in years. So now I've banked up some spending money, but I always try and get the good tickets. Like you say, like, especially with these conferences, you got to travel to. Usually the travel is, a substantial part of it. Like, if you're going to spend that money to travel all the way there, spend the extra couple $100 to get, maybe a premium seat or VIP. And, one of the events I did in 2019 before this whole thing came crashing down was, I got a VIP thing and managed to sit next to Vinny Chopra for dinner. And
That's cool.
I got to pick his brain for like 2 hours or 2.5 hours, and shoot, you can't do that. When you in the cheap seats whining about, the AC not working. So I that's something I do when we go to conferences now. So good point is actually do invest that little bit extra, because the caliber, sometimes you get opportunities that you wouldn't have gotten by scrimping on the ticket. Meanwhile, you've already paid thousands of dollars to travel there.
Yeah.
Right. Because even if it's somebody who isn't like super well known, they could do like one introduction for you that would like change your life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, just think about all of the multiple ways where you can be impacted. Like, because yes, it's huge.
Yeah. They always say like you're one handshake away from $1 million or something like that. Right. So yeah,
absolutely.
$7 million in this case. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like the Eleanor Roosevelt quote. It's like, small minds talk about people, average minds talk about events, and great minds talk about ideas. I feel like that's like, the cheap seats, the middle rows. And
Yeah. No, I think that's very, very true.
No, it is. What would you say has been like the most difficult part of your real estate journey so far?
Staying the course and just, patience. It's not all roses and butterflies, social media, which is, your
favorite,
shows the rainbows and butterflies, and really, beyond just the investments and the ebbs and flows of how those play out, it can be, like I said, just staying the course and being patient. We're just chatting. We've had a pretty dry spell. We haven't bought an asset in 10 months. And we could literally 10x our portfolio in the next 90 days. So, it's really just staying the course, being patient. A word we worked on last year is being measured, making sure you're not reactionary. Obviously, you need to react when time calls for it, but make sure that you remove emotion and be as measured as possible.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And like, not only if you're a, brand new investor listening to this podcast, or a seasoned investor, right? Like you go through like dry spells, right? And I think that comes from like staying the course. You mean like making sure that you're true to your criteria the entire time, right? You don't bend your criteria just because you're having like a dry spell, like you can't find any assets that make any sense, right? Or if you're over offering on certain assets just to get your foot in the door, right? So like I think that's some really solid advice, Carl. And it's just like, stay the course, select your criteria from the very beginning, stick with that criteria. Time will come, like you'll find those properties that make sense, and don't try to get into anything too soon, or backtrack on your criteria and try to get into something just because you need to close on an asset, right? So
yeah, and now I get like even pivoting on sort of asset classes, self-storage and or commercial, and I'm usually pretty blunt. Everyone's like, what do you think of self-storage? I don't know enough about it. Like, oh, it's just the same, and you project managers and property management companies, and I just do not know enough about it, and not enough to the level which I'm comfortable saying I understand, and I'm comfortable in the multifamily space.
Mhm.
And I'd rather be a industry expert in one, and stay the course with it than moving around, because I think that there is some value in being highly specialized,
Absolutely.
rather than moving around, which that's my opinion, and that's how I play it. But I do know other guys that are very successful, and that's why you look at that and you go, should I be following that route? But I guess it's really what works for you and what you feel comfortable, and I feel comfortable in my lane.
Yeah, I was always a huge proponent of like, riches are in the niches, right? And you look at like, Michael Becker is a huge syndicator out of, Dallas, Fort Worth, and like he laser focused on those two cities, and that is it. Like he got to know those cities like the back of his hand, which is like kind of one giant city or whatever you want to call it. But like he knows those cities, right? He built his empire there, right? So like I really enjoyed that, and like that's kind of what we're focusing on now, like Oklahoma, right? Like Tulsa and Oklahoma City, like getting to understand those markets completely. And our, of course, our property management company there is just amazing too. But
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's true. And now that we have these little sayings goings, because this one popped into my head, but it's like pivot, don't panic. And I know that you said not to pivot, but like even what you said at the beginning, so you had more time and then like a relationship grew like this one where like you became a really great mentor, and that in itself is growth within your multifamily journey. Like now that you've become somebody who can like teach exactly what you've been practicing, like you're growing as a person. So yes, when there are like dry spells within purchasing, like where can you pivot the same skills that you would use like in buying into somewhere else in your life? Because you can find fulfillment that way. With dry spells, people are like, oh, I'm not achieving anything, I'm not hitting these goals. But like, again, what growth, like if you looked at the bigger picture, what growth can you actually have on yourself to make this a positive experience? So I personally like the dry spell. So thank you. Because your dry spell was like I was going to say wet spell, but that's weird.
Exactly. Rather than going out and learning something else, it's sharing what we do know. And I guess they say that sharpening the saw, but just remain calm and keep more moving forward.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to bring up earlier, but we kind of moved into some other stuff. Like we're kind of now coming full circle to this now. Is one thing I love about real estate investing is that like you'll notice a majority of us are like a barrel full of monkeys versus a bucket full of crabs. So like if you ever played the game Barrel Full of Monkeys, I think I've said it on the podcast before, but like you put all the monkeys together, one's reaching up and the other, and at the same time as he's reaching up, or he or she, whatever the monkey is, reaching up, they're also reaching down, right? And you're connecting them all together, right? So there's a long chain of like information passing, if you want to look at it that way, right? So somebody's helping from above and also reaching down, the same person's also reaching down and giving back. And so because you did that for me, Carl, like I've been looking to do that for others as well. Like I've been passing that on, right? Because I'm going to continue that chain of monkeys. Well, if you look at it like the bucket full of crabs, if you ever watch a bucket full of crabs, like they're always trying to escape, right? Trying to scramble up the side. But what they're doing is when they're trying to escape, they're pinching the other crabs and pulling them back down, right? Pinching and pulling, right? They're all trying to get out and they never end up making it anywhere. So
yeah, because you could have easily sent like, oh, they want to be in Tulsa. Like, why would I want to help them? I'm in Tulsa,
Yeah.
But it's like, no, there's enough to go around. Like we can all just share.
And since we're on like those cliche things, whatever, rising tides raise all boats.
There you go, another one.
Just keep
throwing.
throwing.
See, we on that. I actually had one of my partners share this with me on Tuesday. Is we're kind of just we got a lot in front of us, but some of us are getting older, and I asked about someone else, and they like figured out where they were and how old they were, and I was like, man, we're so far behind. He was like, man, if you're gonna look in front of you and who's ahead of you, you got to look behind you and see who's who's still needs to be helped up. So that kind of follows the same logic that in terms of helping each other and and, staying motivated. And it's very easy to get, kind of demoralized or whatever else. But, sometimes just looking behind you and seeing the people that you can help, is motivation in itself.
I love that. Yeah. And continuously impacting people, Carl. And I just, yeah, you might, yeah, I don't know how often you consider that or think about that, but like, yeah, like you're continually impacting my life. And I know there's some other people that you chat with often as well. And like, I'm sure they're eternally grateful as well. So yeah, I love that abundance mindset that you have and just like continually giving back. And that's why we wanted to bring on this podcast and really tease that out of you, it's like, get it out. Cause like, and let your light shine, Carl. So.
And this may seem the most ridiculous thing, and it's kind of not a blanket statement, but like for me, well, money is great. Like money is not my motivator. That I need money, and I want money for the good that the money can do, but that's not what gets me up in the morning. It is making a difference. It is like the fulfillment I truly have had with working with you guys, and when we recently sold a deal. And just I keep saying to my business partners that I'm the one who gets to release the distribution checks, and like I'll do any of the dog work in managing these assets, but that privilege of being able to pay investors, like that's what I do this for. And being able to wire out funds from a disposition, which was a substantial amount of money, and the feedback from investors, like that's what does it for me. Like, what I mean? Like, yeah, my check was cool, but just the met with an investor on Tuesday, and he's like, what, we're actually moving. We're moving to New Mexico. We're going to build this custom home my wife's been wanting, and it's on a golf course, and the money we got out of your investment paid for a lot of land. He's like, we've been waiting,
so cool.
but now we've bought a lot of land, and we can go ahead and build out our home. And it's like that's cool, right? It's not just like, oh yeah, you made us a good return, and like to actually find out what impact that return had on him, or what he's able to do, was really cool. That's the fun stuff. That's what I enjoy about really this business.
Right. Because then it gives you so much more motivation to talk to more people, because it's like, wow, the power of even passive investments can do so much. Like people just think of it as like, oh, why would I need a passive investment? But when you hear someone say like, I now can, like, I bought the plot of land where my wife wants to have like her dream home, like phenomenal. Because some people don't think of it that way. They don't think that that's what they can have, but
so no, it's great.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. So it was impacting people all around. So I would love to continue chatting with you, Carl. But I want to keep more of you to myself. I'm just kidding. But our listeners are probably like, hey, let's go ahead and let's hear these 4 questions that Carl's going to answer. So that brings us to the Adventurous 4. These are 4 exploratory questions we ask all of our guests, Carl. So the first question is, where is one place you wish to travel to and why?
Okay. So it would be Thailand. And the reason being, before I met my wife, I had a goal of traveling 2 new countries a year, which I achieved for like 8 years. I love travel. And I was meant to come to America in the summer and go to Thailand like in the November. And that trip never happened. So I need to get my Thailand trip back. So yeah, that's one place that it's a very big destination for South Africans, just because it's relatively cheap to get there and cheap to holiday there.
Yeah. No, I like it. The second question is, what is the number one thing on your bucket list, and how are you leveraging real estate investing to achieve it?
Well, the old cliche, helping others, but really, again, not to highlight South Africa and all of that, but there is so much good people and just in absolute need over there. So I would like to set up some sort of informal, so put it this way, when you go to Home Depot over there are 10s, 20, 30, 50 guys sitting on the curb with a little sign that says like Tyler or Bricky or painter or whatever their trade is, plumber, and they're literally sitting there waiting. And when you go by, your truckload of supplies, they literally run up to your vehicle to see if you need help. These are all, unemployed people, but skilled, to a degree. I would love to set up some sort of structure that would allow them to not make that commercial, but get everyone the opportunity that they deserve. Because like I say, there's there could be 50 guys sitting outside Builders Express, just waiting for work. And I wish there was some way to get that into like a database, or get some sort of rotation of being able to get everyone a little bit of work over there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And like, people don't know about that, because we don't know everything that's going on in the world. And even just to make that like open for others to hear about, like, is wild. So no, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Do something like that. So the third question is, what is one piece of advice you have for someone who is looking to start passively investing in real estate?
I would say make sure you understand and are sophisticated. I know that word means different things to different people, but I like to think I understand the stock market, but I do not invest in it, because maybe that's why. But because no, I don't spend enough time to understand Apple. I don't spend enough time. Amazon, arrives at my house every day, but beyond that, I don't feel comfortable putting my money in that. It's a crapshoot. I don't actually know enough, and I think people should treat passive investing in real estate the same way. The fortunate thing is, it is a lot easier to understand. So put in the time to make sure you understand what is being presented to you, because different there's just, it's everywhere, right? And I don't want to, ultimately, I've never seen a sponsor hold a gun to anyone's head and say, you will invest in my deal. So people are making their own decisions to potentially invest in not the right deal. So backing into that, the root cause is people not understanding what they're investing in. So treat it like as if you would any other investment. Make sure you understand and know how the business works, and then obviously how the offering is being structured, which is, again, it's not hugely complicated. A couple hours, couple seminars, you'll have enough to make a good decision.
And that's great advice. It really is, because a lot of people do just jump into it. Like, even we'll meet people who are like, I'm ready to invest. We're like, okay, well, we don't have anything right now, but like, when we do, we'll let you know. And then by the time we have something, whether that's a month or two, like, we'll even hear conversations like, oh, I deployed everything with just deals that came in. I'm like, okay, that works. Like, that's totally fine. Whatever works for you. But it's just like, how do you understand all of it? Like, I know people get really, really excited, and that's totally okay. I'm a human who gets super excited too, but it's like, when you slow down and learn about it a little bit, then you can like really make the best like decisions for your financial goals. Cause a lot of people don't even have those. They just know that passive investments are great and they just want to put their money in, but it's like, well, what are your goals with it?
Correct. Absolutely.
Cool. And then the fourth and final question is, if you had unlimited resources available to you, how would you leave an impact? But I think that has a lot to do with the second question also.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of grouped those.
Fine.
Yeah, pretty much, I'm obviously, we'll find opportunities and whatnot in the US as well. Obviously, just knowing where I grew up is still near and dear for me to take care of. But it's for there are plenty people and organizations that need assistance. So I don't think I'd have a problem leaving in well.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it. Probably wouldn't put my name on it. I would just do it behind the scenes. That's kind of more up my
Your
alley.
style.
So it would be
Yeah.
an impact, but like not my impact. It would be someone else's impact.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. So before we end the show, Carl, would you mind sharing with our adventurous family how they can get a hold of you?
Sure. So our business is Trident Multifamily, and you can find us on our website at tridentmultifamily.com. That has got all our email addresses, all our mobile numbers, which is a good and bad thing. And then I do have social media pages, which I don't follow at all. But LinkedIn is probably better than Facebook. So yeah, if you want to reach out on LinkedIn, connect with me there, and you can see my history.
Yeah. And if you reach out to Carl via LinkedIn and you drop into his messages, make sure that you say, "Hey, I want to connect with you because I heard you on the Adventures of Real Estate Investor podcast and how awesome you are." And then that is the only way that Carl's actually going to.
Yes, do make that note so I know where it's come from, because yeah, I get a lot of, "I'd like to join your network," and yeah, it's like, but in what context?
Absolutely. Well, no, Carl, thank you so much for joining us today. It's truly been a pleasure, and we really appreciate you being here.
Great. Well, thank you guys very much for having me and hosting me. It was good to chat. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure, Carl. Thank you so much. Until next time, explore more, adventure awaits.